Okay, let's unpack this. We have all been there. You spend weeks, maybe even months, building the perfect itinerary.
Oh, yeah. The color-coded spreadsheets, the whole 9 yards.
Exactly. You've agonized over flight times to maximize every single vacation day. You've secured the hard-to-get dining reservations. You feel like, a logistics master. You feel ready.
It's a feeling of absolute control. Until, of course, the wheels touch the tarmac.
Yes. The moment you land, that illusion of control just evaporates. You grab your bag, you can walk out of the terminal, and boom, you hit the last mile problem.
Right.
You've successfully crossed a continent, but now you have to figure out how to navigate, the most chaotic 3 miles of the entire trip, getting from the curb to the hotel lobby without losing your mind.
And usually the default, I
Yeah.
think, for most modern travelers is just to whip out a phone and tap an app.
Right, the winging it strategy.
Right.
We've been trained to believe that transportation is just a utility, like running water. You turn the tap, a car appears.
And to be fair, that works in a lot of places.
Sure, if you're in a mid-sized city on a Tuesday afternoon, you're probably fine.
But today, we're doing a deep dive into a very specific ecosystem where winging it is actually a high-risk strategic error. We're looking at Anaheim, California.
The belly of the beast. We're talking Disneyland, the massive convention center, Angel Stadium, and just the notorious complexities of the Southern California traffic grid.
It is a unique environment, and we're analyzing a guide called Choosing Professional Transportation, Uber versus Limo Service in Anaheim. And this isn't just a price comparison sheet. It's a really sophisticated look at logistics.
Okay.
It argues that we need to stop viewing transportation as a commodity and start seeing it as a critical piece of your travel infrastructure.
The source draws a really interesting line right out of the gate. It doesn't just compare car A versus car B. It compares two completely different business philosophies. It frames it as the on-demand marketplace versus the service operation.
And this is the fundamental structural difference that I think people miss. They think Uber and a limo service are just two versions of the same thing, but they really aren't.
How so?
Well, Uber is defined in the source as a marketplace. It connects you to an independent driver who just happens to be using their personal vehicle nearby.
So effectively, you aren't hiring a company, you're just pinging a network.
Precisely. It's reliability based on probability. The algorithm calculates that probably there's a car nearby and probably that driver will accept your fare.
Okay, I see.
Now, contrast that with a professional limo service. The source defines this as a service operation. They own the fleet. They employ the chauffeurs. They operate a dispatch center.
So you're not asking the universe for a ride.
No, you are securing a specific asset for a specific time.
That distinction feels a little academic until you apply it to Anaheim. I think people forget, I certainly do, that Anaheim isn't some sleepy suburb where traffic is predictable.
No, and the source makes a big deal about the Anaheim ecosystem.
Yeah.
It explicitly says, Anaheim is not a city where you can wing it and hope traffic cooperates. Think about the flow of people. You're not just dealing with commuters. You're dealing with these artificial, massive surges of humanity.
You mean like when the parks close?
Exactly. When Disneyland lets out, that's tens of thousands of people hitting the exits at the exact same time.
Wow.
Or a major convention at the Anaheim Convention Center breaking for dinner. You have maybe 40,000 attendees all opening the Uber app at 5 p.m. on the dot.
And in a marketplace model, supply is finite.
Supply is finite and it's unconnected. The algorithm can't magically manufacture more cars instantly. So when demand spikes vertically like that, the probability of you getting a ride,
It plummets.
it drops like a stone. Or at least getting one without a 40-minute wait and a massive price hike.
That's the nightmare scenario, isn't it? Standing on a curb, staring at your phone, watching that little searching for driver wheel just spin while your battery dies.
And the source highlights reliability as the #1 pain point in this specific city. Which, brings us to the specific use cases.
Yeah.
Because the source really argues that the right choice depends entirely on the stakes of the trip. And nothing has higher stakes than the airport transfer.
Okay, let's get into the weeds on this because Anaheim is tricky. You've got 4 main airports feeding into it. You have John Wayne, SNA, which is the local favorite.
The easiest one, for sure.
Then you have Long Beach, LGB, Ontario, ONT, and then the big one, LAX.
And the source paints a pretty chaotic picture of doing the LAX run with a rideshare. And, anyone who has flown in LAX recently knows this pain. It's called LAX.
The lot.
The lot. You can't just walk out of the terminal and hop in an Uber anymore. You have to drag your luggage to a shuttle bus, cram out of the bus, ride to a separate parking lot.
And then stand in this, like, designated lane waiting for your driver to navigate the gridlock just to get to you.
Yeah.
It adds, like, 45 minutes of just friction to the end of a long flight.
At a minimum. Yeah, at a minimum. Now, contrast that with the professional model the source describes. Professional limo services generally hold TCP commercial permits that allow them curbside access.
So they can pick you up at the actual terminal.
Right. You walk out a baggage claim, and the car is there. No shuttle, no remote lot. That friction is just gone.
That alone is a huge deal.
But the source goes deeper into what they call predictable pickup execution.
Which sounds very technical, but I assume it just means they actually show up.
It means they show up intelligently. A professional service tracks your flight. The dispatch team knows if you're delayed before you even land.
Oh, that's interesting.
So if your flight from Chicago is 2 hours late, they just shift the schedule. The driver is there when you walk out, not 2 hours before.
Whereas with Uber, if you pre-schedule and your flight's delayed, the driver might just cancel. Right?
They might just cancel because they can't sit there unpaid for 2 hours. Or you land and you're back to rolling the dice on the open market at 1 in the morning.
There's also the luggage factor. The source mentions this, and I felt it in my soul. You order an Uber, the app says it fits 4 people, but it shows up, and it's a compact hatchback. Right. And you have 3 large suitcases. Now you're playing luggage Tetris on the side of the highway.
Which leads perfectly into the Disney factor.
Right.
Anaheim is the family vacation capital of the West Coast.
For sure.
And the source makes a really strong point about what it calls family logistics.
I loved that phrase. It sounds so military, but honestly, moving a family to Disney is a military operation.
It absolutely is.
Yeah.
I mean, think about the payload. It's not just you in a briefcase.
No.
It's strollers, it's car seats, it's giant suitcases, and it's tired, cranky children. The source argues that winging it with a family is a recipe for a meltdown.
Because you might not even fit in one car.
Right. If you have a family of 5 or 6 or even 4 with a lot of gear, relying on an Uber XL being available instantly is a huge gamble.
You could end up having to order 2 separate cars.
And now you're splitting the family up. Who takes the car seats? It's just chaos.
So the professional service solves this with inventory control, I guess.
Exactly. You book a specific vehicle class, you reserve a Chevrolet Suburban or a Sprinter van. You know for a fact that it seats 7 people and holds 10 bags.
It's guaranteed.
The source frames this as buying peace of mind. You aren't ending a magical but exhausting day at Disney by fighting with an app on the sidewalk. You just get in, the AC is on, and you decompress.
That decompression is real value. But okay, let's flip the coin. We've talked about the family vacationer.
Yeah.
What about the other side of Anaheim? The business traveler, the convention center crowd.
Totally different needs, but the same underlying problem of, well, reliability. The source argues that for the business traveler, the vehicle is an extension of your professional schedule.
This is where consistency becomes the main requirement.
Yes. If you are in Anaheim for a massive trade show, your schedule is packed to the minute. You have meetings, networking dinners, keynote speeches.
Right.
The source highlights the timing risks with ride shares during these huge events.
We're going back to that surge in demand we talked about.
Exactly. If you're trying to get from the convention center to a client dinner at a steakhouse in, say, Newport Beach, and 50,000 other people are leaving the hall at the same time,
The Uber grid just collapses.
it collapses. Wait times skyrocket.
And you can't exactly text your biggest client and say, sorry, I'm late because I'm waiting for the surge pricing to drop.
You can, but it is not a power move. It signals poor planning. And the source talks about image management. Arriving in a dedicated, clean, pre-booked sedan sends a very different message than hopping out of a random hatchback that has a cracked windshield.
Speaking of surge pricing, let's talk about the elephant in the room, money. Because I think for most listeners, this is the biggest barrier. The assumption is always Uber is cheap, Limo is expensive, end of story.
But the source complicates that. It really does. It tackles the economics of upfront versus dynamic pricing.
Okay.
The argument is that Uber is usually cheaper on the sticker price if you look at like a calm Tuesday morning.
Yeah.
But Uber's pricing is volatile.
The famous surge.
Exactly. The source explains that during peak demand, which, remember, in Anaheim is driven by events, not just rush hour Uber fares can jump 2, 3, sometimes 4 times.
So what looked like a $25 ride is suddenly $90.
Or more. Whereas the limo service offers a fixed quote. You get a quote based on the reservation. It doesn't change because traffic got bad or because it started raining.
That's a big deal for budgeting.
For corporate departments or for families trying to stick to a vacation budget, that certainty has immense value.
But the expert in the source, and this is my favorite part of the analysis, goes deeper than just the fare price. They introduce this concept of true value, or the cost of a mistake.
This is the critical intellectual shift. True value asks, what is the financial and, frankly, emotional cost of the ride failing?
Okay, walk me through that calculation.
All right, let's say you save $40 taking an Uber to the airport. But the driver cancels, you wait 20 minutes for another one, you hit unexpected traffic, and you miss your flight. What is the cost of that missed flight? The rebooking fee, the missed day of work, the stress.
It's huge. It's hundreds, maybe thousands of dollars.
Exactly. The source argues that when the cost of a mistake is high, the reliability of a chauffeur service just outweighs the potential savings of an app. It's basically an insurance policy for your schedule.
That's a really helpful framework. If I'm just going to the movies and I'm 10 minutes late, the cost of the mistake is I missed the trailer.
Right, low cost, take the Uber.
But if you missed the opening remarks at the convention you traveled across the country to attend?
High cost, don't gamble.
Let's pivot to the hardware, the actual cars. The source describes a quality gap that I think we've all experienced. It calls the Uber fleet highly variable.
That is a very, very polite way of saying it's a total roll of the dice.
Ah, right.
Remember, rideshare vehicles are personal cars. You might get a pristine new Tesla Model Y, or you might get a 10-year-old sedan that smells a little like fast food and the trunk is full of the driver's gym gear.
And you have zero control over which one shows up at your curb.
Zero. The professional fleet, on the other hand, it's built on standardization. Luxury sedans, SUVs, sprinters. The source notes they are detailed, inspected, and designed for a quiet environment.
Why does the source emphasize quiet? What's the thinking there?
Well, think about the use case. If you need to make a sensitive business call on the way to a meeting, or if your baby finally fell asleep in the car seat after a long day.
You need a controlled environment.
Exactly.
Yeah.
You don't want a driver blasting talk radio or, trying to chat you up about their screenplay.
Oh, man, the forced conversation, that is the worst.
The professional chauffeur reads the room. And that brings us to the human element. The source draws a really sharp distinction between an app driver and a chauffeur.
Okay, is that just marketing speak? Or is there a real functional difference?
It's a functional difference.
Huh?
An Uber driver is an independent contractor. Their primary tool is the GPS.
They're following the blue line on Waze.
That's it. And the source warns that they might be unfamiliar with specific hotel entrances or event traffic flows.
And the chauffeur.
A chauffeur is a trained professional. The source says their job isn't just driving. It's timing, coordination, and customer care. They know which door at the Grand Californian Hotel is for luggage and which one is for check-in. They know that when the Angels game lets out, Catella Avenue is a parking lot, so they take a back route that the algorithm doesn't even know about.
That local knowledge feels like a superpower in a city like Anaheim.
It is. It's the difference between navigating the city and just driving through it.
The source also touches on something we usually don't see until it's too late: safety and insurance. The invisible infrastructure.
It is, and it's crucial. The source mentions that professional limo companies operate with commercial insurance and regulated business structures. They are monitored by the state's Public Utilities Commission.
And Uber.
It relies on personal car coverage that toggles on and off depending on the driver's app status.
Yeah, nobody checks the insurance policy before hopping in a car on a Tuesday night.
No, but if you're a corporate travel manager who's liable for your employees or a parent protecting your kids, that regulatory difference matters. It's a layer of a safety net that the gig economy often bypasses.
So we've covered the cars, the drivers, the money, the risks. The source actually provides a sort of decision matrix to help people choose. Because, and I think this is important, they aren't saying never take an Uber.
No, that would be disingenuous. The source is very clear. The formula they suggest is choose Uber IF. The trip is short, the timing is flexible, and the stakes are low.
So if you're just bouncing around Anaheim for dinner or going from your hotel to a nearby store.
Uber's fantastic for that. It's convenient. But choose a professional limo IF. You have a strict deadline, like a flight or a keynote speech. If you have complex logistics, like a lot of luggage or kids, or if you need guaranteed reliability.
It effectively suggests a hybrid approach. You use the right tool for the job.
Exactly. Use the heavy artillery, the limo service, for the big important movements. Use the app for the little hops.
The source also mentions local trust. What is the advice there?
It suggests avoiding the big national booking brokers and looking for actual local operators. Check verified reviews on Google Maps or Yelp.
Yeah.
You want a service that actually have cars in Anaheim, not a call center in another state that's just farming out the ride.
You want local accountability.
That's the key. So bringing this all together, it feels like the big takeaway here is really about intentionality.
That's the word, intentionality.
Yeah, we've drifted into a mode where we treat transportation as an afterthought. We just assume it will sort itself out. But this source reminds us that in a complex environment like Anaheim, transportation is actually a logistical pillar of your trip.
It's the difference between being a passenger and being a planner.
Exactly. If you treat transportation as an afterthought, you are inviting chaos into your trip. If you treat it as part of the itinerary, you are protecting your time. You're protecting your investment in the trip itself.
I keep going back to that cost of a mistake. It's such a powerful way to look at travel budgets. You know, we spend thousands on the destination, but we cheap out on the very mechanism that gets us there safely and on time.
And that's where the friction happens. You don't remember the $30 you saved on the ride to the airport. You remember the 2 hours of panic standing on the curb.
Or the fight you had with your spouse because you were late to that big dinner reservation.
Precisely. The source really drives home that convenience isn't always convenient if it disappears the second the demand spikes. True convenience is advanced planning. True convenience is knowing the car will be there no matter what.
So as listeners plan their next trip, whether it's to Anaheim or anywhere else, the question isn't just how do I get there, it's how much is my schedule worth?
And what am I trying to protect? If you're protecting your professional image, your peace of mind, or your family's sanity, the service model usually wins over the marketplace model. Every time.
Well, that gives us a lot to think about before we book our next ride. I know I'm going to be looking at that confirm button a little differently next time I'm heading to the airport.
Definitely. It's worth the extra 10 minutes of planning.
Thanks for diving into the logistics with us today. It's been really eye-opening.
Always a pleasure.
And to our listener, here is a final thought to mull over. We talked a lot about the cost of a missed flight or a late meeting, but think about this. In an age where everything is on-demand, instant, and algorithmic, is the ultimate luxury, actually. Certainty is knowing exactly what's going to happen and exactly when, the rarest commodity of all. Something to consider while you're packing your bags. Thanks for listening to The Deep Dive, and I'll catch you on the next one.
Safe travels, everyone.